So this player struggles with hitting the ball on the heel. That would indicate that we have a shaft that's too light. Hits a lot of hooks. The ball flight is really out of control with this player. So we did a fitting for him and determined that a heavier shaft. He almost qualified for going into an X-Flex shaft, but not quite. And it didn't feel great. We didn't see the results we wanted. So we're gonna go into a stiff, but he's coming from a soft regular, and seeing that shaft, everything was just kind of wild with it. So light swing weight, we have a light shaft in general, and then we have a flex that's all wrong. We're gonna have out of control shots, and we're gonna see that shot go kind of all over the place. We're gonna go heavier. We're going into steel. I think he's at that point. We're gonna go dynamic gold mid 100. So a little over 100 gram shaft here, and he's in a stiff flex. So when he went a little heavier, just seemed like the stiff flex was the best one for him. And again, I think this is this is bridging to a final set of clubs for him, but that's what we see with this. So we're gonna show you how we can swap these out and make it work. All right, so got all our specs. All right, and again, not building to a spec, but I just like to have this to know for later future reference. All right, so we've got all the pre-information done. So those steps right there, I just find are a lot easier. You know, if you come into questions down the road, hey, what was it before? Stuff like that. Stuff you always get. Not that we're building any specific, hey, I want the same specs as I had before. We're gonna build these to standard ping specs now. We're gonna go standard length shafts. We're gonna go with the standard grip, all that. Now that's going to be a little longer than what he currently had, but again, that should help increase some swing weight here because everything's been in like the mid C's. But again, if you have any questions that come your way, we want to have those, but also I want to be able to explain. Things are going to be feeling a little bit different for this player. He did try the clubs, but they will feel different. So let's go ahead. We're going to extract the shafts here first. So that's going to always be number one. Let's go ahead and start extracting all of these. So first thing that we have to do, all right, so these are graphite shafts. We do need a shaft puller. I like a shaft puller for these. Do not use a shaft puller. If we were doing just steel, steel is nice because we could just heat these up and then you can actually just twist it off. But if you take these and you heat it up and then twist it, you're probably going to break the shaft or damage the shaft, and that shaft is no longer good. So like to keep them, they're in good shape. So I've got this shaft puller here. This is the one from Golfworks. I do like this one. You kind of preload it, get this loaded up, and now all I have to do is heat it. I don't necessarily need to touch it, which is important because it's going to get pretty hot, and it will just start pushing the club head off for me. So we're going to pull the shaft and then go from there. The other thing I'm going to do here is I'm not going to save the ferrules. I've never had like great success saving ferrules. You know, you can do it. I've done it. But I like the clubs. We want these to look new, so we're just going to use new ones. So what I'll do here is I'm going to just heat the ferrule up so I can soften it up a little bit. Take my blade. And there we go. All right. So we load that up. We're going to clamp her down. Again, careful on the pressure you're putting on the shaft. Now I will say I don't have any specific need for these shafts, but it's always nice to keep them. If they want to keep them, the client wants to keep them, I always try to do that. So we're going to, let's go ahead and tighten this guy up. So what we can do is tighten this, as long as it's tightly in there, what we're doing is putting pressure. Again, this is why I kind of like this one, because you preload the pressure. And this little bar here moves over, so it says it's loaded. Okay, so I get it over there. Now, as I heat, I'm going to heat here, and I'm just going to kind of work my way around, and it's putting the pressure on. So as the epoxy loosens, it's just going to start pushing the head off. So the way we do this before is you kind of do it. Again, you're not trying to overheat. So you're trying to get this to go, and you would stop, try to pull the head off or push the head off with the shaft puller, and then go. It didn't come off. All right, keep heating it up. You just kind of keep going back and forth. Here we get to kind of heat, and I can kind of see this bar. If it starts to move, it's pushing the head off. It's gotten loose enough where the head is starting to come off. the device. One other thing too is I'm using a heat gun. You can use a flame, depends on who you ask. Some people say, hey, the flame's gonna get too hot too quick for a graphite shaft. You know, kind of like that Ferris Bueller line, treating your car or wiping the car with a diaper, right? Like graphite shafts, you do just have to be careful. But the argument you could have is you're putting less heat for less time on the shaft. So I think it doesn't really matter. I've seen people do it both ways. I think you're less likely to have a problem if you use a heat gun. Again, if you're using a steel shaft, go at it, use the heat, just don't burn yourself. You're gonna probably be okay. Yep, here it comes. There it goes. And I can just kind of push it the rest of the way off. There it comes. Again, I don't like to do any pulling if I can help it. If it's not coming right off, I'm going to use the tool because I know the shaft extractor is pushing this straight out as we go. So there we go. A little piece of that ferrule. So we talked about with the ping clubs, they have a ferrule that has a little collar in there, so I can see some of that still staying in there. But we're good there. We can take this out. That looks all right. I'll let this cool a little bit, but while we're still a little bit warm here, what I'll do is we'll get out a brush while this is still a little bit warm in here. And again, this is why I kind of like this thing, because the head doesn't get too hot because you never heat it up too much. You're just heating it up the right amount you need, and then you go. So we're gonna go ahead. Clean this out. So the goal being, I need to get everything out of this. A little easier to do when you have it warm and everything's kind of melted in there. So I've got a piece of the ferrule in there. So what I'm gonna do, so let's do this. We're gonna drill a little bit. Drill bit. Get in there. Try not to push. Okay, our big piece just fell out there. Good. Just trying to rough up the edges. If you were to have a fresh hosel here, you would still, I would take one of these bits, these sand bits or these steel brushes bits, and you still would go in here. You want to rough up inside here. That way the epoxy has something to grab onto. Looks pretty good there. So this is what I like to do, is I like to use these guys. I like to use these guys that have this kind of like flatter end to them, right? So when I go in there, kind of gets everything all the way around. Ultimate test is throwing a shaft in there, seeing how much you get in there. There we go. Perfect. Got it. So we're going to go ahead, repeat that process for all the clubs. So I'll save you on that, but I'll be back when we get that done. All right, guys, so have the heads done here. So we're all good, and they are all drilled out. So we're gonna go ahead and just start assembling them. Now, one thing, if you are particularly doing ping irons, ping has kind of this weird bore that they do in their irons. So again, you need this collared ferrule because when you put these in, you have a ton of play. It's a massive, massive gap from the top of the shaft. Plus, like this iron, if I'm looking at it, this could not be any cleaner. And if I was to go in here and just see how far this goes in, like I get a max of like just over an inch that this little drill bit will go in. And the reason for that is they do a special bore. They taper the bore. So they do something special with their shafts as they put these together. That's why, again, we put these collared ferrules on. This is going to hold and help support the shaft, because if you do some more regular or other shafts that don't have this special bore that they do, what you'll get is actually going all the way in. It'll go all the way in. It'll sit flush. But just if you ever do a ping one, it's just always a little weird. It's always, hey, I would love for it to feel a little more stable, but it is what it is. And again, that's why you need the collared ferrule. And then when you glue it, I do make sure I really put on a lot of epoxy and try to make sure that kind of fills out some of the space that's in there. You could also do a shim if you want, but it's definitely not necessary, but you could do a shim on these as well for a 355 that would take it to like a 370. That is another option, but not necessary, just kind of overkill if you want to take the extra step to do it. Got that roughed up. So you're just roughing it up so that there's something for the epoxy to stick to. This is also rough in here. If this wasn't rough, so some of like the game improvement irons, TaylorMade QI irons is something that we run into an issue a lot, like straight from the factory. They will come in and heads will just not stick very well. So we'll actually get some sandpaper or one of these wire brushes, and we'll actually just rough this up real good inside the Hosel so that you have something to stick to. All right. So because of time frame on these, I am going to use some quick set epoxy. This stuff, it's like 5 minutes. You get 5 minutes to work with this. So I'm only going to do a small amount, enough for one club, and I wouldn't normally recommend doing this. I would use some of the longer cure stuff. This is 24-hour epoxy. I would use that normally on a full set, but just because of the deadline, these need to be done by tomorrow. I'll use these. I use these on my own clubs, and they work really good. But you do need to just be careful. Like, it's going to set. So I like to make sure that I'm ready to roll with everything. And then I'm going to put some epoxy down. I do about a dime size. If I'm doing one club, it's about a dime size of each. So something like that. Gonna let it sit. One other note, if you were doing any other set, because we have this very, very big ferrule here, I am not going to use quick center, because what I find is when I use this, it doesn't allow for the Hosel and the ferrule to sit, so you get this gap. So normally I'd use quick center, but in this case, the centering is going to be done by this ferrule, so don't need it on that. And then we'll go ahead, take a golf tee. Let's mix this together. Good. I'm going to put just a tiny, tiny bit on the shaft so I can have just a little glue on this ferrule. Try to help it stay in place as we go. We're going to get this to go down as far as we can. That actually looks pretty good. Again, just I always like I'd like to get a little bit more in there. So the other thing I don't like is with these pings, you know, I'm as clean as I can get. I see the metal at the bottom, but I'm just over an inch into this. So that's why you have to have that ferrule to support it. So again, I'm going to be very generous here on this epoxy. And this stuff, it's about 15, I usually give it about 30 minutes to dry. So we're going to get this in here. Slide this in. Going to give it a tap. Just make sure we're in as far as we can go. It looks like we are. Got this, lining up the graphics. Do a little wipe around. Make sure everything just looks copacetic. Looks good, nice and flush. I will say it is nice when you buy the official stuff. You know, as annoying as it is, like I'm not going to need to turn these ferrules. Like, they just look good. So we'll be good. One other thing too is if you find that, hey, I'm having a hard time get the ferrule on, I can just turn the heat gun on for a few seconds, just loosen that ferrule up just a touch, and it will slide just a little bit. But again, it's just very, very quick. All right, and so that's it. That one is done. Now I just need to go through, rinse, repeat for the rest of the set. So let's go ahead and let's do that. All right, guys, so club head, good to go. So again, you can give it a nice twist, not having any movement, not seeing anything. You know, I can pull on it. These should be, if it's fully cured, which these should be, you know, should be able to take a pretty good beating and not sear anything. Not seeing anything going on. So this one feels pretty good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish off just one club because obviously we've gone through the whole set. I'll just finish off one club for you, and then obviously you would apply that to the rest of the set. Also, you're seeing it's always a lot easier if you're working on these. If you have new components, you have new shafts, you obviously would just not have to do the first steps of removing them, cleaning them out, all that. But that's how you would get to this point. And now we go to here. We're going to measure this off first. So I do have the specs. So like I said, our player is going to standard specs. So his 7-iron length, if I just go back to his original length, was 36.5. Standard length on this 7-iron is 37. So we're going to go ahead and measure this out. So I've got our club ruler from Mitchell. It's got this little notch in here. So when I measure this out, it kind of accounts for the fact that, hey, there's a little bit into that top of the grip that we want to account for. We'll go 37 here. Got it. Need my marker. Let's do it. Mark that up. Okay, so always I'm like a 7-time measurer. 37, checking, making sure everything's where it needs to be. Double check my specs. You can always measure and remeasure once we cut this. You could always do an extension, but not my favorite thing in the world to do. Let's just say that. All right, so we're gonna get the saw out. Safety first. This is the part where I do encourage safety. All right, so I do put a glove on for this just because when we're doing the metal shaft, sparks are going to fly, especially I do this on a chop saw. I like the chop saw because it gives me a very clean cut, but it will come in and make some sparks. So I just make sure everything looks good. We're gonna line it up. It's good there. Nice clean cuts. If you do have any little burrs, I don't typically do, but if you do, you can always just bring it over here. Just clean it up so you don't get any burrs sticking into the grip, anything like that. All right, so again, at this point, I would typically cut all of them. I always just, again, we should be right around 37, just short of it, because we're accounting for the grip cap. And then we get to finish this up. Okay, let's use our grip, measure out where we're going. All right. And here we go, tape goes on. We're just doing normal wrap, standard grip, standard size, just a Tor velvet, nothing fancy here. Get that on. And pro tip, always use a towel. Keep you from getting sprayed. So you just cover up the end where you're looking to go. Throw that on. Do a little check. And voila, there we go. Wipe this up a little bit. And there we go. Golf club reshafted and then rinse and repeat for the rest of the set. But this club now has gone from somewhere that is a light club in that C6 range. So again, let's do a little look. So we're at D0 right there. It's actually just above, it's right about D0, which if you actually look at the specs of what they list on the website is actually right about where Ping would say that this is supposed to be at. So that's good. We're bringing a club back to a standard spec. That's, a standard type of, this is a stock type of shaft that they offer. So should be right around there. But we've gone up a couple of swing weight points for this player, and now they have a new golf club. It's an old golf club, but gonna look like a new one and play definitely like a new one with all those changes that we have made. So there we go. If you have any questions about the process, please leave me a note down below. Any other club repair you'd like to do, because at Mistwood we do it all. We pretty much do everything. So if you have any questions about stuff you want to learn about and what effects it could have on your golf clubs, leave that comment down below. And always click that subscribe button and hopefully enjoy some of this club repair content, because it is an important part of getting better. And if you understand how it works, it can really help you out. So thanks everybody. We'll see you in the next one.